All right, so here we are for another episode of the Rent Check podcast. How are you, Rebecca?
Doing great.
So we've got Rebecca Nelson here. She's one of our rock stars. She is our sales manager and has a pretty unique history, I think, here at WSR and in real estate in general. And so, as kind of an intro to get you maybe the juices going here, want to talk a little bit about your history and how you arrived at this point. So, I guess my first question is, number one, you were a transaction coordinator for a while and did a lot of the back end for this business. And I think you learned a lot more. In fact, as my business partner and I have shared many times, you know a lot more about the back end than the average bidder, including ourselves at times. So we kind of look to you for that expertise. So tell us a little bit about kind of your path, about how you started and where you are now.
Well, I mean, real estate was never really on my radar, to be honest. But I kept thinking, I got to get out of California because I want to cut my expenses and make more money. And I wasn't working. I have 3 kids, great kids, and I was a stay-at-home mom. And I kept feeling like we just need to move to make this easier. So my really good friend, talked me into getting into real estate. So I did not go into transaction coordinating first. But I realized that when I went and got my license, that was the easy part. And I had 3 kids in 3 different sports, and my husband and I had no way to even get them where they needed to be, much less me to go be out doing the real estate stuff, because everyone knows
Hmm.
that's a weekend gig and all weekend. And I was not willing to give that up. So I was kind of like, what am I doing? And so I ended up just learning the paperwork side really well and started picking up clients as a transaction coordinator. And I'm extremely organized. Like that is one of my pillars, I guess, of importance too.
Mm-hmm.
If you ever start seeing my life falling apart, there's something really wrong with me and you probably need to get me to therapy, because organization is it's a hallmark of who I am. And so being a transaction coordinator, it's perfect. I can have 30 different deals on my desk and not get anything mixed up. So that kind of became that thing. So because of that, I've been a part from start to finish of close to 500 transactions, which does make me more knowledgeable than almost every single agent I've ever worked with.
Yeah, actually, I want to kind of riff off that a little bit, if you don't mind. So I didn't use you for many years as a
Yeah, you were
transaction
resistant.
coordinator. I was resistant. It was like, we will not assimilate. And so, mainly because I keep a very tight ship. My mother taught me how to be very organized, and I have maintained that. And so some would say too organized, or OCD, until I
Right.
met you and how you did it. And I realized, well, not only did you give me like a level of confidence, but I said, well, here's somebody's actually a little bit more OCD on this than I am. So I can probably loosen up the reins. And so,
But I totally get you, because I think like as I get busier, I really should be looking into having my own transaction coordinator, but I don't know if I can let go.
yeah.
Like you really do. It's when you're the one managing the transaction, you really are the one who knows exactly what's going on. And the agent kind of takes a back seat.
Yeah.
You really do drive it. So I don't know that I could step out of that role, even though ideally I'm trying to move beyond it. But it's a challenge. So I get it.
Yeah. It's tough to have your fingers not on that pulse anymore, at least not, you're not getting that palpable,
Yeah.
kind of feel, and you're going, oh,
And you have to trust. You have to
do.
trust like crazy. And sometimes I don't think about that because I know
Right.
myself, but I look at the people that I do represent regularly and how much trust you have to give them,
Mhm.
because you do take a step back. If you're going to make this beneficial, what's the point in paying me if you don't?
Yeah.
But it's a definite, but it's made it fun. Like I can't say that my sales resume is so spectacular that everyone would be like, oh, I have to hire her, she's done everything in the world. But my back end side of it is. And I
Yeah.
know that. So that's my selling point, is I definitely will know better than the guy who's telling you whatever he's telling you.
Yeah.
I know more.
And that's not pride. That's
It's-
that's
I'm not trying to
extreme
come
confidence.
off
Just want to clarify. So this is very, this is not hubris. This is confidence.
Well, and I say that too. I do have a lot of confidence in it because I spend a lot of time researching. Things come up and I'm the one that's in there searching for the answers and finding out what's going on. And, that it
Yeah.
lends itself to that. And because I've seen a lot more, like in this business, honestly, you are your experience.
Yeah.
You are. You know it because you've seen it, not because someone told you.
Right. So you've learned all this back end. You've been doing transaction coordination, and then you make a transition. Tell me a little bit about that.
So then it gets came to property management about 3.5 years ago.
Mhm.
And that was different. It wasn't hard because, again, property management is organization too. It's knowing your stuff and it's keeping it organized and not letting pieces fall. Because what do we do as real estate agents? We juggle a lot of stuff. And you try to keep that all in place and not let things break. And so the transition wasn't hard. Honestly, the hardest part was just taking over properties that were already being managed and walking in and being like, so I'm not really sure what things I push and what things I don't
Yeah.
because I didn't know the owners yet. I didn't know the tenants yet.
Yeah.
So that transition, just getting to know my people, was the hardest part. But then you start getting your own and you have your own groove and you kind of know what you're doing. And then anything you don't know, you're just calling Richard. So, and you figure it out.
Yeah, Richard is he's our native name for our AI. Oh no, he's actually a real person. I apologize.
Yeah.
Yeah, Richard. We lovingly refer to him as our AI. So
I would
yeah,
say
he knows
Richard's
everything.
better than AI because AI's got its place, but if
Yeah.
you know something about something, AI is usually wrong.
Yeah.
It's usually just when you know nothing, AI sounds like
Yep.
it's amazing. So, who knows what you're getting.
Richard, when he reviews this podcast, I'm sure he'll be very excited to hear you speak so lovingly of him.
Well, and I would say too, just on another point for Richard, Richard has an interesting teaching style, which is actually more beneficial, but very frustrating when you're new.
Mhm.
Because you'll ask him something and he'll kind of be like, well, it's kind of up to you. Maybe yes, maybe no. I do this, maybe I don't do that.
Mhm.
And he's very vague. But he will tell you what you have to know, but then he makes you figure out the rest, which is the best way to teach.
It really is.
But it really sucks when you're learning and you just want someone to tell you.
Mhm.
So I remember being frustrated, but being like, well, I don't like being micromanaged. So really, this is the best way to go. But just tell me.
Yeah. So you bring up a good point. It's like finding your own groove.
Yeah.
So you're in property management space now and you're kind of finding your own lane or your own groove. And yeah, tell me a little bit. Let's explore that a little bit more. Give me some tidbits about how you have found your own groove and like kind of what works for you that maybe sets you apart from other property managers.
Oh gosh, that I don't really know very well. What sets me apart because I only really know a few property managers. Though I just got off the phone call with a guy that doesn't manage properties, but he does occasionally. And I helped a friend of mine get a place, and he was not willing to represent the other side, so I just helped him do the paperwork. And we have this full relationship now. He calls me just to talk about whatever, talk about what's going on in property management, and like he's like my buddy. But he talks about that, and I think that that is the core of what my groove is relationships. And that really is real estate in general. Like that's the thing I
Mhm.
love the most about real estate is the relationships, and property management allows you to have richer relationships than sales. Because
Oh, for
sales,
sure.
you
Yeah.
have a certain time period in
Yeah.
which you develop a very heavy relationship. And if you're good at what you do, you continue that, but it's not the same.
It's event based.
It's yes.
Yeah.
And so hopefully you stay in touch so that you can, hopefully have that again down the road. But in property management, it's always. So I love that part. That part is the most taxing, quite honestly. There are some tenants that I'm like, oh, could they stop texting me every day about every single thing? But you develop this whole thing, and between your tenant and your owners and everything that's going on, you have these really great relationships.
Yeah.
And I do love it the best, even if sometimes it's annoying.
I do think that I agree with you. I do think that that is probably the most enriching part of this business is the fact that you have long-standing relationships with folks. You're managing an investment for them.
Yeah.
This is part of their future livelihood, if you will. But you become this point of trust for them, and
Right.
man, it is. It's a special thing. So, I even as the owner of the company, I still have clients that I manage for that I've had for 25, 28 years.
And you don't give them up because
don't give
it's
'em
a relationship.
No, they're mine.
Yeah.
You don't get them.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, dang it.
So, all right. So now, kind of shifting gears a little bit more, you go from property management and you're still doing that, but you're also our sales manager. So
Right.
let's talk a little bit about sales manager. What do you bring to the table for that?
Well, it's different in WSR for sure
Sure.
than I would expect it to be in almost any other brokerage because our bread and butter at WSR is property management. That's what we do. So it's funny because bringing to the table, I guess, my duties. I, host a sales meeting once a month, and most of the time everyone's eyes are glazed over because we're talking about things that they're not necessarily doing in the moment. But you hope you learn, and that's the whole thing. So I believe as being a sales manager is being available to help and to coach and to inspire and to just teach the things that if you're not doing it every day, you're not necessarily aware of it and you're not necessarily paying attention. And that's the reality for all of us in real estate. There are things that we do every day and there are things that we don't. But between the myriad of transactions I'm working on the transaction side, the sales that I do on the sales side, which I'm still doing, and the property management, there's this whole kind of symphony of knowledge that is
Yeah.
helpful to try to continue. Because the way we learn in repetition, right?
Mhm.
So how many times can I reshare with you the things that are important? And hopefully one day when you come across this, you'll be like, wait a second. I think we talked about this once.
Yeah.
I need to be aware of this.
But I'll bring up case in point. So yesterday we were talking about a particular form that had to deal with removal of contingencies.
Right.
And, admittedly, some of us were going, oh, okay, removal of contingencies. But once we kind of started getting into the nuts and bolts of it, and we were identifying real world scenarios where this actually matters, then it became far more interesting.
Right.
So once you start kind of tapping into the anecdotes, you're going, wait, hold on for a second. This is really relevant right here because you can potentially get burned if you don't do this right.
Right.
And if you're not following these things and some of the strategies, representing a buyer, representing a seller, and the interplay there as part of a general negotiation, I thought that was very intriguing. And frankly, that once we got into that, because once again, you're looking at the contract, you're going, dude, just put a bullet in my head. I'm done with this thing, but we may have to edit that part out. No, but going, oh my gosh, this is it's
Well,
drudgery.
keep in mind, my meetings come after lunch,
I know.
after a meeting, 2 meetings beforehand. So
True.
people are kind of over it by the time they get to me. And that's okay.
But we are
I get
eating.
it. You are eating.
We have just,
This is true, but it's
we had
siesta
some
time. I don't know what's wrong with us. Why are we not taking naps?
Good point. So let's talk a little bit about kind of some of the challenges that you've experienced now, given the fact that you've got kind of these 3 legs that you built upon. So once again, you've got the transaction coordination. So I'm going to call that the back end. You've
Yeah.
got the property management, which is the day in, day out of managing an asset, and then the sales, which is finally time to offload or alternatively acquire a new property.
Right.
What are some of the things that you have found to be like big challenges for you, especially in the environment that we find ourselves in 2026? So if anybody's listening to this podcast, the 3 people that listen to this podcast,
No,
what are
there's
going to be
a few.
what are going to be some of the things that are like, oh yeah, Rebecca mentioned that. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
potential pitfall. So talk to me about challenges.
Well, I don't know if I'm kind of hitting. I mean, well, let me talk kind of market, like
Sure.
where we are. If we're talking
Yeah.
about sales in particular, because I would say that the rental market kind of follows sales in a lot of ways, but it is different. But I don't know if I'm hitting what you're asking, but I would say like the market that we're currently in, and I laugh about this all the time, that we've been saying for 6 years, we're in a weird market right now, so we're not really sure what's happening. And we say that all the time. So I think maybe we should stop calling it weird and call it normal, because that's what it is. And the market's been shifting like crazy. Remember after COVID and everything went wild and the interest rates were non-existent. So
Right.
everyone was getting like 2 to 3%
Yeah.
interest rate. So people were going in and buying a house for $50,000 to $100,000 over appraised price, paying cash.
Yep.
And they're like, I want this. I don't care. I won't ask for anything. You can give me the dump and I will take it out of total desperation. And so because of that, your neighbor sells their house. The next week you sell your house 1 week later for $50K more. Like the amount of increase that happened in that time period was just, it's never going to happen again. So if you're hoping,
Yeah.
I mean, if that happens, then the whole world went to hell. But it should never happen again. It shouldn't. We have to get used to that.
It was super crazy. I just had to quick sidebar. I had a
Yeah.
conversation with a friend yesterday, and the sweet spot for the COVID time was actually in May, June of 2020. That was the sweet spot, because after that, the graph just shoots through the roof.
Yeah.
And you're going, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It was literally the inverse of 2008, where everything's just going,
Right.
You just had this massive takeoff. But so back to this then.
Yeah.
The market's kind of wonky.
Right. So now,
And?
And here's the thing. This is the hardest part. And being a real estate professional, you have to be able to interpret the data for your buyers and sellers, because the data is kind of a mess and you kind of look at it and you're confused, right? But the thing is that when the rates stopped being 0 on the Fed side, and actually we're at 6%, 7%, Historically, that's nothing.
Yeah.
But we act like it's the worst thing in the world. And it is to me too, because I bought my house is 2.8%. My what I have to pay is nothing compared to what everyone pays now.
Yep.
But when those rates, because our prices were skyrocketed, right? And when the rates came up to a normal thing, everyone thought, oh, the house prices have to come down because there has to be a balance. And so everybody
Mm-hmm.
was waiting. And all the buyers backed off and the sellers backed off and nothing was happening. And because the sellers backed off, there was no inventory.
Mm-hmm.
So guess what happened year after year? It went up. It still went up. It didn't go up 50 grand in a week. Like that ridiculousness stopped, but it still kept going up. We have not had a downturn in a year. Now, that's a national average. There's obviously pockets that are a little bit different, and
Mm-hmm.
people are still talking about how house prices need to come down. And
Are
yes,
we seeing some of that now?
yes and no.
Okay.
But here's the problem. Like, yes, it is a little bit, but when it takes it over an average, the statistics don't say that same story. It's still going up, but like 1.4% or something small. It's still going up, and it depends on the pocket that you're in. It depends on what you're selling. But even something that you bought like 3 years ago, you've probably gained some equity on even now, which is wild to imagine because that's not what all the talking heads say.
Yeah.
You really have to be able to take what's happening in the national sphere and understand it, and then look at it on your local. And you've got to be able to take the properties that you're looking at because they're all different. A condo townhouse is going to be one way. A first-time buyer house is going to be one way, and your elevated move-up home is another. And then your multi-million-dollar ones are a whole different level. And they all have a different scale.
Yeah.
And so being able to interpret the data that's coming in and to talk to your seller and to preface it is going to be key. And so it's training your agents in your offices to understand this, to be able to price something, to be able to explain it to your buyer and seller,
Yeah.
because pricing it is one thing. You can say whatever you want, but if your seller's like, nope, I want 3 million for my place,
Yeah.
and all the data says 1.5, you got a problem.
So this is it. So for a brief moment, actually, would you share a little bit? Normally, Richard would weigh in on, things that are relating to the rental market, or I'll weigh in. But what is your take on giving that kind of in the macro sense? What is your take on how that affected the rental market, particularly in our area in Southern California? How did that influence it with all of that wonkiness going?
Well, I mean, our rental prices went up crazy too. The same thing.
Mhm.
It matched it just on the rental side scale. Like, if you have somebody who's been living somewhere for 6 years, they don't ever want to move because their price is going to be double or triple
Yeah.
what they are currently paying. And that's a tough place to be as a renter. And the renter market, I wouldn't even say those prices are coming down. They've kind of leveled. And so I think like most of my tenants that I put in place maybe a year ago, I'm not advising my owners to raise rent on
Mhm.
unless we did rent it really low. But most of the time we didn't because the market just demands it. And
Yeah.
unless you're renting, I would say that unless you're renting during peak months, which would be now through like towards the end of summer,
Yeah, the standard cycle.
there is a little bit of a bump that you're going to be able to get. But it's the affordability problem that we have. And that's really what's happening in the market is that prices aren't really coming down to an affordable place. And going back to that point, yes, they might be coming down somewhat, but not fast enough. Everybody kind of wants to see a 2008, but nobody really wants to see a 2008. But in their mind, they do.
Mhm.
In their mind, they want to say that $800,000 house is going to be $400 in a month.
Even those that are making a ton of money. Yeah. Even those that are making a ton of money off of rentals right now, for whoever that is.
Yeah.
But they're still thinking, when is this bubble going to burst? So there's a level of anxiety there too.
There is because
What does that look
you think that, and even me too, when I'm looking at all the data, I don't know. I wish I had that crystal ball, but if I did, I probably wouldn't be here because I'd be so wealthy. I wouldn't be doing this.
Yeah.
But that's the thing is like, we don't really know when that is going to pop, and it depends on your market. It really does. You always notice in any market, the areas that are the last ones to come up in price are the first ones to drop.
Yeah, almost always.
And in Southern California, man, I look at like one of my sellers right now, we accepted an offer for a house that they're selling in Carlsbad. The buyer was selling. And they bought their house in 2020 for $875. They're selling it for 1.8 in 6 years.
Wow.
6 years, they made $1 million on that house, which is just hard to fathom that rate of return is ridiculous.
Yeah, it
And
really
we're
is.
probably never going to see that again. And that's where buyers get really nervous
Mhm.
because even though you might not lose next year, how much, when are you going to gain back?
See, this
Like,
is yeah,
you might not, but that's why you don't buy a house. The house that you're living in should not be your investment, and you have to look at it differently.
you do.
If you're going to buy that house, it has to be something you can afford for the long term that fits your needs.
Yeah.
Because the only time you really need to be concerned with what it's going to do in 5 years is if you're a flipper.
Yeah, so what you're talking about is the same level of anxiety that we saw in 2000 at the end of 2007, but all through
Right.
2008, where you've got maybe 7 or 8 people in line and you're passing this bag, and the subsequent person is getting a little bit more in that bag, and they're doing great, doing great, doing great, but you don't want to be the guy at the end who has been
Right.
building that entire bag and now all of a sudden has to give it back because equity just plummets and
Right.
you're the last guy in the line. And
Right.
that's what we saw. And you couldn't chase it fast enough. I mean, you're dropping, oh, well, we better take $25,000 off this home price. Now we've got to do 50. Now we've got to do
Yes.
75, 100, 125. And even then you cannot chase that curve fast enough.
No.
It was desperate
Well, and
times.
it's scary. And you think about all the time too, like the way that we usually advise buyers. Like, look, and this is truth, but it also comes with some stigma. Like, you shouldn't be married to your interest rate. You need to be married to the
Mhm.
house, but the payment needs to fit, of course.
For owner occupied. you mean.
Yeah, for owner occupied.
Right.
Like, there's totally different ballparks when you're talking investor. And I would say now, if you don't have cash to invest in a house, it's probably not the best time to buy one because you're not like if you're doing rentals.
Yeah.
I've watched a couple of my clients that were owners that tried that, and they had it just didn't work.
Yeah.
They ended up having to sell because they were at a net. They were at a negative because unfortunately, with the price of insurance and the mortgage and all of these things, if you're mortgaging that house to rent it, you're not going to make enough money in rent to fix that. So you have to be able to weather the long game.
Yeah, but if right, and
It's the long game.
right, and the appreciation if it's making up for because cash flow is actually the weakest performer of the three-legged stool.
Correct.
But anyway, here's what I actually want to get at right now before we shift gears again. So I've got the Rebecca Nelson crystal ball here.
Mm.
What do I know? And we will hold you to it. and you're looking in your crystal ball. What do we look like? Is the market going to stay flat? Is it going up? Tell me about it. Where do you think it's going to go? Just your gut feeling. And if you're wrong,
this is going to
we're
be
going to make sure it's
on
all over the
air
place. No,
forever.
I'm just kidding. So peer into the ball. What does it look like?
I think for our market, for California, it's going to stay pretty steady. That's what I think. I don't think that we're going to have big increases, which does give a buyer pause. If
Mhm.
you're thinking if you're deciding to buy owner occupied today and you're like, this payment is really rough for me, but in 3 years I'm going to refinance, take into account that it's very, very possible that you won't be able to. That your property will go down because it might. If it doesn't stay steady and even and it goes down, then you're going to have to wait until it does again. I mean, I was stuck in that. I bought my house in 2005, almost at the height,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which was okay because I also sold a house high. So, it's a wash.
Yeah.
But I had to wait through all of that. My house is now worth significantly more than when I bought it, but it's been 20 years. You have to be able to weather that long-term storm.
Mm.
So if our market stays even relatively flat, you still need to be able to weather it. Whatever you're going to do today, you've got to be able to sustain for the long term and be okay with it.
So this
I
is
don't know.
Okay. So you think my takeaway from that is you think it's going to be relatively steady.
Maybe I'm just being hopeful. I honestly can't answer that.
Yeah.
Because
tough question.
I would have guessed really, along with everybody else, that because our rates were so low and it was so ridiculous that it would have adjusted the price more.
I thought it was going to, honestly, tank about 12 to 15
I know, now we're
months ago.
6 years. Now we're 6 years after.
12 to 15 months ago, different, and here we are still going steady. And,
yeah,
there's lots of things that are affecting the market, kind of from a global sense, gas prices going
Right.
up and how does that affect? And, here we are in California paying the most ridiculous gas prices ever. Having said that, you and I
But our
both drive a
gas is
Tesla,
low.
so it is what it is. But we're those people. But but having said that, my wife still drives a van, and every Wednesday when she fills it up, it's like, it's painful.
I know.
So,
I know you guys are all feeling it out there too. So
Yeah.
That's the affordability is tough. And, inventory is always going to be tough too, because you've got people like us that have had our house for 20 years. We've got a 2.8 interest rate. It's a
Yeah.
golden handcuffs
It
because
really is.
essentially, if I decided to
That weighs in
leave,
every decision.
I'm not
Yeah.
going to sell my
Of real
house. I'm
estate.
going to
Yeah.
rent it because guess
Yep.
what? Whoever rents my house is going to pay double or triple what I pay in my mortgage.
Mhm.
So why would I get rid of it?
Mhm.
It is a golden handcuff. So there are some
Not to mention property
opportunities
taxes
for
being
owners to
locked in. Yeah.
become
Yeah.
landlords
Yeah.
in that situation if they decide to move, but
Oh,
they
man,
want to
that's
keep something.
now you bring up a good point. That's another conversation
Yeah.
about, assuming loans.
Yeah.
But
Well, yeah.
that's
Now
for
that
another
is
day.
a whole other conversation.
So let's talk about, because you've been in the real estate market, or real estate arena, let's call it, because it really is. It's not a market; it's an arena. Uh, so we've got a new contestant now. We've got a new juggernaut out there, AI, and lots of people see it as a threat. Others see it maybe as an ally. So give me your raw truth and walk me down this path. Now
Well,
you've got AI out there. What does it look like for you?
let me kind of backpedal that a little and talk about some of the most recent market changes when
Sure.
it comes to real estate and big brokerages, right? You've had all your Remaxes and everybody out there, they're juggernauts of real estate and they carry the lion's share of the agents and the business that's being done, right? They've all been bought out. Real bought, let me see. I have to look at my notes because I forget the names of the companies that bought them, but Real bought out Remax.
Mhm.
So they're now going to be called the Real Remax Group. And all these companies, and then Compass
Yeah.
bought out a bunch of them too and brought them in like Century 21 and that whole parent company, everything under there. And what was that? Compass was buying Anywhere Real Estate, which was the parent company to Coldwell Banker, Century 21, Sotheby's, Better Homes and Gardens, all these companies,
Mm.
right? And they're all being kind of brought under one umbrella. And what Compass has and what Real has and stuff, they're tech companies. That's what they are. And they're bringing in the manpower, but they're tech companies. So and that's a whole different discussion about how agents feel about that and what's happening. But that should be a giant indicator for you that we're going tech, whether we're talking specifically AI, it doesn't matter because that's all intertwined in it. It's all intertwined in it.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
that's where we're going. And I think as agents, like, I think about this too when I first started in this business. I mean, I act like that was forever ago. It was 2015. It wasn't that long. But when I first started in this business, I was with a really small brokerage. And this is how it works, right? If you're going to get into something, you're going to be the new person and you're going to find new stuff and you're going to do things differently.
Mhm.
So, as an agent, if you want to really be vibrant and keep up with it, you need to learn the new things and you need to not stay pigeonholed in your things. So, what I brought to the table is I was like, did you know that we have all these tools that do A, B, and C? And they were like, no, we had no idea. So, we're here like learning all these new things. And if you're old school, you're going to get left behind.
Oh,
Like
yeah,
it
for
just
sure.
depends on where you are
Yeah,
in your
yeah.
career.
No, you're for sure.
So AI is going to be a big part of that. And it will simplify some of the things we do. You still have to figure out how you can utilize it in your business. And I've gone to a bunch of seminars on how to use it. And my biggest issue isn't using it. It's finding the time to sit down and learn how to best use it because that's a whole time thing. It's a time constraint. So how to be more effective takes time. Like anything you do that becomes more effective takes work on the back end
Right.
to get you there. And then once the back end is done, you're like, ooh, I'm way more effective.
Mhm.
But it takes time to get there. So I don't know. AI is a really interesting thing. I have a membership with homes.com for marketing. And their AI platform is, I don't even know. They should surpass Zillow, honestly. You can get on there and just tell, like, if you're a buyer and you're shopping around, you just get on there and ask the AI, like, conversationally. So I really like a home in San Diego. I've got 3 kids. These are their ages. I kind of need good schools. I want to be within 30 minutes of my work. This is where I work, blah, 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 blah. You give them all the information and it just starts pulling houses for you. You don't even have to look. You're like, I kind of like this one right here. Can
Hmm.
you show me pictures of the kitchen? And then it'll pull up the pictures of the kitchen. Can you tell me what the neighborhood metrics are? What's going on here? What the taxes are? And it will pull everything for you in a conversational tone. Basically what I should be doing for them. So when you know that there are AI systems out there that will do all of this, and we already know that buyers do so much research before they ever come to you. then you've got to figure out a way to make
Yeah.
yourself important enough that it isn't just a machine. So we as agents have to show that, and our experience is going to be better than AI, honestly.
Yeah.
'Cause that's what I say all the time. If you know nothing and you ask AI, they sound like the most intelligent thing in the world. But if you know something about something and you ask them, you find out all the holes.
But with a neural net processor, a learning computer. Come on. Come on. But this is so, by the way, so graceful without, because you brought us all the way back to the beginning,
Yeah.
where the number one takeaway was relationships.
Yes.
So,
That's where it is, because that machine is never going to hold their hand like you are.
but
And guess what?
you
People
have a
still want it.
relationship with the machine?
Well, it's questionable. Some
Awkward.
people might.
Yeah. Right. But that relationship management, yeah, bring it all the way back. There's something that we offer that the computers can't.
Yeah.
So that's really insightful. Yeah, I kind of agree with you. In fact, I'm banking on it. Otherwise, we lose a business. Right?
This is exactly right.
It's like, well, let's just have AI take over everything. If that's the case, if that's the world that
Right.
we're going to live in, and we no longer need human contact. Yeah, I hope not. And my 5 kids, although they probably wish they had a different dad, they're stuck with me, and I appreciate that human contact and have my kids and my wife and stuff, because wow, life would be terrible without them, as I'm sure that's the case with you and your
Yeah.
husband and your 3 kids.
Yeah.
So lastly, I want to ask a question then. And you can't say don't, all right, when I ask you the question, but what advice would you give somebody that's coming into the industry right now? And I want to kind of bifurcate this into 2 different things. So somebody who's coming into this industry as a property manager, and somebody who's coming into this industry as a property owner. What would be the advice you would give each of them?
Now I have to think of that, because when I was thinking about this before, I was thinking about just real estate in general.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of, well, okay, so let's talk about the owner. If
Mhm.
you're coming into this as an owner and you're thinking, I want to rent my property, you really have to learn to separate yourself from your property first and foremost. And we talk about that a
Yeah.
lot in
Yeah.
WSR, because the longer you think of that property as your place, the harder this is going to be.
Yeah.
You have to be able to separate the two. So if you're going to be a new owner, you need to start looking at it as an investor. You're now an investor, so don't pretend you're not. Don't, get into that mindset. Like, this needs to be a money-making effort for me. And how do I mitigate the challenges? And use a property manager. There's the plug.
Yeah.
Use
There you
them.
go.
I mean,
There you
we know our stuff. That's what we're here for. And I get it. I get it. Where,
Use a property manager. Yeah.
there's so
Yeah.
many things in California, especially, is just they don't like you. They don't favor you.
Yeah.
As an owner, like, you really are, you're now lumped into the big bad corporations, and everything they're doing is trying to circumvent
Mm-hmm.
allowing you to be successful.
Yeah.
So a lot of everything that we do as property managers is to mitigate those risks, to help make sure that you're in compliance where you're supposed to be and taking care of things. And we do the best we can. I mean, you're not always super successful. There's always losses in it, because that's life, because we're dealing with people, we're dealing with situations.
Yeah.
And so it's difficult, but
For sure.
you know a lot more, because I don't know how many people out there outside of their full-time job can sit there and research what we do for our full-time job. So that's what we're here for. So use us. So as an owner, learn to treat it as an investment.
Yeah.
And spend the money to treat it as an investment.
that's
do the
wisdom
things
making.
you got to do.
I agree.
Now, as a tenant, what was it?
No, as a property
As
manager.
a property
Yeah.
manager,
I-
coming in new.
I'm
as a
brand new to the
property
business. Yeah.
manager.
Now what do I do?
Find a good mentor.
Yeah.
That's probably the best. And I think too, for me coming into it, one of the things that I like most about my job is working for WSR, honestly, not being like a plug to the boss here, but because
Yeah.
because this is the bread and butter here.
Tell me more, please. Yeah.
They put a lot into making our job easy. I mean, that's a really loose term. But the fact that I can manage what I manage and still do the other things I do and be able to do all of that isn't because I don't do this by myself. Like, my properties that I manage are mine. I work on those. I take care of every aspect of it. But that doesn't mean I don't have this whole team behind me that takes care of all the back end, because they do. They take care of all the back end. I'm just sitting there. I can do it all on my phone. Take care of everything, keep everyone happy, while we've got accounting that takes care of collecting all the bills and doing all those things. They're handling it.
Yeah.
If there's an issue, I'm the mid person that takes care of it. but it's all gets handled. And then the software that we've invested in, the processes we've invested in, make this whole different. Because if you're brand new and you say, I think I'd like to be a property manager, and you go pick up 5 properties and you have to do all of this from A to Z, I'm
Hmm.
sorry. You'll get to keep a bigger part of your commission, but it's not going to be fruitful.
Good luck.
It's way, way more difficult.
Yeah.
So if you're new to this and you really want to hit the property management side, I'd go with a company that does property management, whoever that is. WSR is the best, but whoever that is.
Yeah, it just, I guess in closing, it's the layers of complexity. I would probably say it's an order of magnitude greater in 2026 than it was when I started in 2020 or in 2000, excuse me,
It was all
not
well.
2020. Uh, I just look at all of the changes that have happened over the last quarter of a century, and I mean, it's legion.
Mhm.
It's immense, and especially as California's become more litigious. But that's for another podcast. So, anyway, Rebecca, thank you so much for taking the time today. And yeah, I think we're going to break for lunch now. So, take care.
It was fun.
Thanks.
Peace out.
See ya.